We live in a world that cannot stop talking. From the moment we wake up, we are surrounded by a relentless storm of noise. Social media demands our immediate reaction. Television screens flicker with loud debates. The modern workplace rewards those who speak first, those who shout the loudest, and those who dominate the room with a forceful presence. Society has convinced us that to be powerful, you must be visible. To win an argument, you must raise your voice. To be respected, you must constantly broadcast your achievements to anyone who will listen. But beneath this deafening roar of modern life, there is a completely different kind of power. It is a power that does not demand attention, yet commands absolute respect. It is the quiet, profound strength of the introverted observer. Among these quiet souls, there is a specific type of mind, often known in psychological circles as the INFJ. These individuals are the silent architects of human interaction. They rarely dominate a room. They do not fight for the microphone. But make no mistake, their silence is not a sign of weakness. It is a finely tuned instrument. While everyone else is busy shouting, the quiet observer is gathering information. They are watching, feeling, and understanding the invisible currents that drive human behavior. Today, we are going to explore the profound psychological depth of how these quiet individuals outsmart the noise, navigating the complexities of life and human relationships without ever needing to raise their voice. To understand this quiet power, we must first look at the way these individuals perceive the world around them. For the deeply intuitive introvert, a conversation is never just about the words being spoken. Words are merely the surface of the ocean, but these individuals live in the deep waters. They pay attention to everything. They notice how a person shifts their weight when they are uncomfortable. They hear the slight tremor in a colleague's voice when they are trying to sound confident. They feel the heavy, unspoken tension that fills a room after a forced smile. They do not just hear what you are saying, they feel what you mean. This level of deep awareness gives them an incredible advantage in life. They do not need to manipulate people, because manipulation requires a desire to control. Instead, they simply seek to understand. And in the complex chessboard of human relationships, understanding is the ultimate advantage. They outthink others not by running faster, but by quietly anticipating the next move. Over time, these individuals develop an arsenal of silent strategies. These are not calculated schemes, but natural responses to a loud world. They learn to disarm tension, spot deception, and gently redirect the flow of a room, leaving others wondering how the atmosphere shifted so suddenly. The first and perhaps most striking tool in their silent arsenal is their gaze. Anyone who has ever been on the receiving end of this profound, intuitive stare knows exactly what it feels like. It is not a casual glance. It feels incredibly focused, as if they are quietly studying a part of you that you thought was carefully hidden away. And in many ways, they are. They possess a powerful visual intensity. When they make eye contact, it is steady, anchored, and deeply meaningful. They are not trying to intimidate you. They are simply trying to read the truth of the moment. But this very desire for truth can be entirely disarming for people who are used to hiding behind social masks. Under this steady gaze, people often feel exposed. It is as if their carefully constructed facade has suddenly slipped. The quiet observer uses this gaze to pick up on shifting emotions, hidden motives, and sudden changes in energy. They do not need long to figure out if someone is being authentic or if they are performing for the crowd. Their eyes do the heavy lifting. In a lively conversation, this quiet gaze often causes people to suddenly pause. A person might stop mid-sentence, lower their defensive tone, or shift uncomfortably in their seat, entirely unaware of why they suddenly feel the urge to be honest. What is truly fascinating is how they choose to use this visual power. They do not use their gaze as a weapon to dominate others. Instead, they use it as a lantern in the dark. They use it to gather knowledge, to learn the terrain of the human heart, and to get ahead of a situation before a single word is spoken in anger or deceit. It is a silent advantage they carry with them everywhere they go, from crowded dinner parties to tense corporate boardrooms. While others are busy talking over each other to prove a point, the quiet intuitive is tracking the reality of the room. They are noting who is genuinely confident and who is overcompensating. They are watching who is truly listening and who is merely waiting for their turn to speak. Because of this, when they finally do decide to speak, their words carry an astonishing weight. Their statements land with heavy impact because they are based on profound observation, not just impulsive reaction. This deep reading of people also acts as a powerful shield. It protects them from toxic environments and manipulative individuals. They can sense danger long before it fully forms, allowing them to quietly step away from deceit before they are caught in its trap. It is a gaze that demands honesty and subtly outsmarts social games before the first piece is even moved. The second silent strategy lies in their masterful command of body language. They do not need to speak to be completely understood, because their physical presence speaks volumes on their behalf. While they might appear entirely still and reserved on the outside, every movement they make is filled with quiet intention. Their body language is highly controlled, not in a stiff or nervous way, but in a remarkably careful and grounded manner. They move with gentle purpose. They do not fidget unnecessarily. They do not wave their arms to demand space, nor do they puff out their chests to assert dominance. Instead, they know how to claim space simply by existing within it. When they enter a room, they do not rush or make a grand entrance. Yet, people naturally notice them. There is a deeply rooted, calm energy about the way they carry themselves. They often stand with an open but protected posture, their shoulders relaxed, their breathing steady, and their eyes fully aware of their surroundings. This physical presence sends a subconscious message to everyone in the room. It says, "I am here, I see you, and I have absolutely nothing to prove." In a society where everyone is trying so hard to be noticed, this effortless physical grounding is incredibly magnetic. The third, and perhaps most potent tactic, is the strategic use of silence. In modern Western culture, silence is often viewed as an enemy. People are terrified of the awkward pause. They feel an overwhelming, almost biological urge to fill the empty air with words, to explain themselves, to apologize, or to simply keep the conversation moving at a frantic pace to avoid looking inward. But the deeply intuitive mind does not fear silence. They welcome it. They embrace it, and more importantly, they use it. When an introverted observer stays quiet, they are not frozen by anxiety or confused by the topic. They are simply letting the moment breathe. They are thinking, processing, and allowing the silence to do the heavy lifting for them. This intentional quiet creates a vacuum, and human nature dictates that people will rush to fill a vacuum. By simply holding their tongue and maintaining a calm presence, they create a space where other people begin to over-explain. People start revealing hidden motives, deeper insecurities, and true intentions, simply because they are trying to ease the heavy weight of the quiet. It is a psychological masterpiece performed with zero effort. In moments of conflict or negotiation, this strategic silence is remarkably powerful. While an opponent might raise their voice, aggressively pushing their argument forward, the quiet individual simply listens. They wait patiently. They allow the other person to talk themselves into a corner, tangled in their own emotional words, and then, only when the moment is perfectly ripe, they respond. Their response is not laced with emotion or ego. It is clear, direct, and devastatingly accurate. Because they waited, their words strike with the precision of a master archer. In everyday life, they use pauses deliberately to invite deeper honesty. Instead of interrogating a friend with 20 rapid-fire questions about what is wrong, they will ask one gentle question and then offer the gift of silent eye contact. This gentle space removes all pressure. It invites the other person to drop their defenses and speak from the heart. The silence tells them that they are safe, that there is no judgment waiting for them. It also gives the intuitive mind the necessary time to carefully select words that heal rather than harm. In a loud, reactive world, their active restraint breaks the usual chaotic pattern. It catches attention naturally, shifting the balance of power back to the one who is calm enough to listen. The fifth strategy revolves around controlled breathing and the anchoring of physical presence. There is a distinct energetic difference when a deeply grounded person enters a room. It is not just about their posture. It begins at the most biological level, with their breath. Intuitive observers tend to naturally regulate their nervous systems by breathing slowly and deeply from the diaphragm, especially when the surrounding environment becomes tense or chaotic. This controlled rhythm of breathing acts as an invisible anchor. It keeps them completely grounded while everyone else is being swept away by anxiety and stress. And human beings are incredibly sensitive creatures. We subconsciously match the nervous systems of those around us. When someone walks into a panicked room radiating a slow, steady, rhythmic energy, others begin to unknowingly mirror that calm. The quiet individual does not have to shout at everyone to calm down. Their very presence acts as a soothing balm. In moments of intense conflict, this breath control creates a vital space between stimulus and response. If they feel a surge of anger or the sting of a hurtful comment, they take a long, deep inhale. They let the emotion wash over them, and they exhale it away. This ensures they never react out of blind emotion, always maintaining their quiet dignity. The sixth tactic is their profound environmental awareness. They do not merely read the people in a room, they read the invisible architecture of the space itself. When they walk into a new environment, their minds act like advanced radar systems. They immediately notice the details that others completely ignore. They see how the chairs are arranged. They notice who has positioned themselves closest to the door. They can feel where the pockets of tension are gathering, and they understand the unspoken hierarchy of the room simply by watching who is looking at whom. This incredible spatial awareness grants them quiet, absolute control over their own experience. They will deliberately choose to sit in a location that gives them a full view of the room without making them the center of attention. If they sense that an interaction is turning hostile, they will subtly physically shift away, resetting the boundaries of the conversation without causing a dramatic scene. In group dynamics, while the loudest voices are fighting for dominance, the quiet observer is busy noticing who is being excluded, who is shrinking into their chair with discomfort, and who is secretly running the show. By simply leaning their body toward the quietest person in the group, they can shift the entire conversational dynamic, empowering the marginalized and lowering the volume of the dominant, all through physical geometry. The seventh and deeply foundational tactic is their profound energetic sensitivity. This goes far beyond basic empathy. They are deeply tuned into the invisible emotional weather of human existence. They can walk into a completely silent room and instantly feel the heavy undercurrent of a recent argument. They can sense the raw, unspoken grief radiating from someone who is smiling brightly and pretending to be perfectly fine. This is not magic. It is the result of a brain that is hyper-wired to process emotional data. If someone is trying too hard to project false confidence, they can practically feel the fragile mask trembling. If a person is harboring silent resentment, the intuitive mind feels the drop in the room's temperature. This extraordinary sensitivity shapes how they respond to the world. They will naturally soften their voice when speaking to someone who is secretly hurting. They will draw a firm, invisible boundary when dealing with someone whose energy feels chaotic, manipulative, or untrustworthy. People often tell them things like, "You just seem to know exactly how I am feeling, even when I do not say it." And it is true. They are reading the signals that the rest of the world is too busy, too loud, and too distracted to see. Over time, this deep energetic sensitivity evolves into a masterful, silent filter for their entire life. They learn that their energy is their most precious resource, and they refuse to waste it on interactions that drain their spirit or environments that feel profoundly inauthentic. They use all of these quiet tools, the penetrating gaze, the grounded body language, the strategic silence, the subtle expressions, the rhythmic breathing, and their environmental awareness, to build a beautiful, peaceful fortress around their minds. They choose very carefully where they invest their time and exactly who earns the privilege of accessing their inner world. They also use these gifts to profoundly uplift the people they care about. In a world that is desperately crying out to be truly seen and understood, the quiet observer offers the ultimate gift of genuine presence. They offer a safe harbor in the middle of a raging storm, and they do it effortlessly, subtly, and beautifully. It is a way of moving through life that protects their peace, while simultaneously healing the hidden wounds of the people lucky enough to be in their orbit. It is the absolute pinnacle of emotional intelligence, executed in total silence. In the end, the deepest truth about these quiet, intuitive souls is that they never need to talk simply to prove they are leading. They do not need to forcefully explain themselves to be understood. They move through the complexities of human life with a brilliant, quiet strategy that is very easy for the loud world to overlook, but absolutely impossible to ignore once you have experienced it. They navigate the chaos without ever needing to raise their voice or fight for the spotlight. Their intelligence is not measured by the volume of their words, but by the profound depth of their calm, the careful care in their observation, and the quiet precision of their actions. If you find yourself identifying with these traits, know that your silence is not a burden. It is your greatest strength. You do not need to conform to a society that demands constant noise. You do not need to be louder to make an impact. You simply need to trust the incredible power of what your presence is already saying. Because when you truly know how to observe, how to breathe, and how to understand the human heart without uttering a single word, you never need to out-talk anyone. Your quietness is, and always will be, your ultimate victory.